So welcome. Today's guest is James Poulter, who's also known as JP. And obviously on your Instagram page, you're known as the AI guy. So I was looking at your LinkedIn, JP. It's insane, like the amount of stuff that you're involved in. I wrote it down because I would never be able to memorize all of it. I know you've obviously built an incredible career with that intersection between technology, creativity, and purpose. But you are the former co-founder and CEO of Vixen Labs. You're an author, public speaker. I think I saw on your private website, literally 250 events already. You're a trustee for Christian Aid, founder of Poulter Ventures, advisory board member at Agentic. So yeah, I suppose it's fair to say that you are insanely busy. I don't know how you do it. And so JP and we first met at the Christian Vision Digital Day last year.
Yeah, that's right.
You had a really thought-provoking talk on AI and ethics and just kind of how we can use these tools to make the world a better place. Still did a bit of an Instagram post of you on that. And I don't know why, but as I was sitting writing the intro, I was just randomly remembering something involving cowboy boots. I don't know if you were wearing cowboy boots or if it was on a slideshow.
I think I probably was on that day.
Did
yeah.
you?
They tend to be my go-to for keynote presentations, just to kind of make a bit of a statement, perhaps.
Yeah. So I was vaguely remembering that, thinking like, is this just a random memory or was it real? So that really stuck with me. But I suppose since then we've stayed connected. I've watched loads of your Instagram posts I really love, so I would encourage anyone to go and follow the AI guy or JP on Instagram. And then obviously had a chance to introduce a couple of my colleagues to JP and kind of see how that can kind of lead to something more valuable in future.
Yeah.
So yeah, just genuinely so thankful that you're here joining me today, JP, because like I said, busy feels like an understatement. You are involved in so much.
Well,
I don't know if you're just working 24/7 or what.
Don't let social media kind of create a false impression. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I like to be busy, I like to have things going on. I think it's probably part of my personality and just the way I like to operate. I've never been particularly good at just paying attention to just one thing at a time. And so it's always kind of fun for me, I think, to be involved in a variety of different things, whether that's consulting work, whether that's my public speaking work, of which I'm spending more time probably doing now than before because of the topic of AI, or whether it's writing books, of which like you said, first one coming out this year, which is super exciting, or creating content, and whether that's kind of videos or newsletters or blog posts or whatever it might be. I've always loved to communicate ideas, and particularly communicate technical or difficult ideas, and try and make them simple for people to understand and be able to track with, rather than so much of the kind of like the hype machine, particularly around technology, I think is unhealthy. I try and kind of be realistic and pragmatic about it. And so that naturally means you have to be in lots of places at once and be relatively plugged into what's going on. But at the same time, I'm probably not as busy as social media tries to make out.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's definitely probably that creative brain part as well, that one thing is maybe a bit too boring and you need the stimulation to kind of keep the ideas flowing. So I suppose starting right at the beginning, JP, you obviously there's a lot online about your professional life and all the stuff that you're doing, and it's really awesome. But I suppose with my podcast, I really try and kind of connect back to faith and people's faith journeys, and showing to people that wherever you are today, it doesn't mean like where you're going to end up one day, and that everyone started somewhere in terms of their faith journey. So I would love for you to kind of go back to the beginning and introduce people to yourself from that perspective, and just how, as God leads, like, where did you start? How did you actually get into your faith journey? And then, also kind of overlapping and going into the business life.
For sure.
Aspect.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't grow up in a particularly Christian household, although I went to a school that would have nominally had kind of Christian roots or affiliations. My grandparents were believers. My late grandfather, Reg, actually, was confirmed in his late 70s after kind of a recommitment of faith in his later life. And my grandmother, who's still going strong at 96, she still too is kind of connected with her faith and is praying for us, which is great. But it kind of skipped a generation. And I found myself interested in it through just trying to explore what was life about, like why were these things happening, why were we here? Yeah, kind of. I've always, I think, been one of those ponderers of like the big questions of life and like how did we end up here in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I started attending a local youth group that ran at my secondary school when I was about 15. Mostly to try and play basketball, meet girls, and eat sugar on a Friday night, all three of which were successful. But along the way, kind of just intellectually ran into God and kind of trying to work out what was going on. And I think then in my later teens, after having professed faith and certainly a kind of a head knowledge of who God was and kind of reading the Bible and connecting with him that way, it was really at university where I attended St Mary's Church in Bryanston Square, which is in Baker Street in central London, a large, at the time, very artistic, creative, charismatic church in the C of E, and came to experience kind of more modern forms of worship and connection through the Spirit there, and under the tutelage of people like Martin Smith from Delirious and Nick Herbert, some of these kind of great songwriters and worship leaders at the time, just kind of came to know what it was like to worship God in kind of more spirit and truth. And that really kind of set me on the path of kind of being much more engaged in my faith life from there on, and trying to explore what it means to live that out in a secular world as well, because I've always worked in the corporate space, along the way, obviously getting an opportunity to do a lot more advisory work in faith communities and with Christian non-profits amongst others, but I've always worked in the corporate, predominantly advertising and marketing sector for the longest time, which is not always the easiest of places to navigate being although I would say becoming increasingly better now, but certainly when I started, kind of 18 years or so ago, was a lot harder. So it's been a journey for sure.
And I'm quite interested when you were talking about running into God intellectually, because having met someone recently and just talking about this topic, I suppose for intellectual people to really understand God, would you say that you had an encounter with him to then really, because you can read the Bible, you can go, okay, yes, I'm saved, I've read the Bible, I kind of know the head knowledge of all of this, but the person may still be not fully understanding the love of Christ as a Father, and just that real encounter. And I think everyone needs that encounter. Did you have one of those, or would you kind of like, what would you say to someone that's like quite intellectual on what is that next step to get there? I don't know if
there was one pinpoint moment that I can think of, but particularly, I was baptized when I was about 16 at this more conservative, Bible-believing local evangelical church. And then as I went into university and began to explore faith more deeply, there was certainly a couple of occasions where we at the church that I was a part of didn't do the Alpha course, but we did something similar to it. I'm sure many people listening will be familiar with Alpha, and that included a weekend away where we were invited to kind of experience the Holy Spirit. And I remember on a couple of occasions there feeling more deeply connected with him, and feeling like getting words and pictures for people was the first kind of real experience of like, what is this? I could. That was where the head knowledge of what I had read in the Bible began to not only become real, but also separate from what I had experienced as reality up until that point. And so then you begin to go questioning, well, hang on a minute, if this is really what's happening, and I'm getting these senses of things for people, and I know this is not everyone's faith tradition, but it certainly has been my experience, then maybe there is something more to this than I've even understood intellectually up until this point. And from there on, I think that's where my faith kind of really came alive.
Definitely. I would say for me as well, it's that when you have that encounter that's undeniable, and just when the gifts of the Spirit, like, the kind of those gifts start operating, and like, well, how is this possible? Or you see something and then someone else is kind of saw something similar, but it's not even a visible thing.
That's right.
And I suppose for you then, when you're talking about living it out in the secular, do you bring faith into kind of your, I suppose, not like always your AI talks and things like that, but
well, increasingly I do. I mean, so in my professional life these days, I spend a lot of time speaking to senior executives, kind of boards of all different sorts of companies and organizations, predominantly corporate ones, although some folks maybe who are following this or know me through my social media might think that I spend all my time talking to Christians, but that's not really accurate. I'd probably say that's maybe 20% of my time is in that world. Most of the time I'm speaking to corporate audiences, and it's often not the thing you see on social media, because it's in company away days or sales kickoff meetings or roundtable dinners or conferences of other kinds. And I've always tried to be as open as about my faith as possible. And I think that it's interesting because obviously knowing so many people in parts of the world where that's a dangerous thing to do, or where there could be ridicule, increasingly I've found that particularly here in the UK and also in the United States, where I spend a lot of my time, it's almost expected that you have a faith of some description. Certainly when I speak in the South, or kind of in parts of America where the Bible Belt is alive and well. That doesn't necessarily mean it's full of Christians, but it's certainly full of people going to church. And so it's expected. But I think what I've tried to do is, as best as possible, is lean on my belief that the world of AI would be better off with a Christian ethic within it, founded on Judeo-Christian values more broadly, of which most of society has been formed for the longest time. But we've lost our way a bit in, and so I regularly try and bring back either not out and out Bible bashing or kind of verses center, but nods to it, because I think it helps people understand that I'm not just coming at this from some humanistic, made up ethical worldview saying that we should behave this way, or these AI tools should behave this way just because I say so. I mean, that's maybe fine, but I think we need to aim for something a bit higher than that. And so a lot of the work that I do in our AI advisory work around ethics in particular is obviously grounded in my belief in that we are, as humans, separate from the rest of creation. We're made in the image of God, that idea of the Imago Dei. And that everything flows from that, including our right to privacy, our expectation of protecting one another when it comes to security, that we're accountable for our actions, and that we should be transparent and plain speaking with people, all of which have lots of secular words around them if you go talking to AI ethicists who are non-believers. But interestingly, they all come from kind of biblical worldview. And so most of those people wouldn't necessarily attest to that where they're getting those values from, but I can't see any other way that you don't draw that direct line from scripture.
And talking about ethics and I suppose humans and their views on things, one question that came up in my mind this morning was just around, so at our church, the prophet would kind of go on about AI is like, make use of it, don't fall behind, there's a lot of ways to make money through AI and things like that. But you do get this group of people that are a little bit anti-AI, and they have all these random views around, well, AI is linked to the mark of the beast and AI is linked to the demonic, and I don't know if there's if you've got any views on this, of telling people out there that are Christians and maybe have more religious views on things that no, it's fine, and that AI can actually be used for the greater good of humankind and spreading the gospel and so many different things.
I think with so many things like this, the answer is obviously yes and, right? It's not as black and white as it's good or evil. Because we can do a lot of good, and we are seeing a lot of good done with AI, for sure. I think there's an interesting discipline. This is something we've worked on in the missional AI community, of which I'm a part of leading, in some of our ethics work there, looking at the discipline and also the mandate of stewardship, and how do we steward the resources that God gives us, right? Whether you go back to the parable of talents or many other examples. And the point is that we are given resources by God to look after them and to use them well. AI is one of those resources in my mind, particularly if we are to try and fulfill the Great Commission, or kind of what we read about in Revelation of kind of preparing the way for the return of Jesus. It's not that we can necessarily do anything to usher in the timeline, but we are supposed to be ready and prepared and manage and steward the things that we have well. And so if there comes along a thing that allows you to get the same output with or greater quality in a faster period of time, that allows you to do more with those resources that God's given you to be able to further the objectives of his kingdom, and that thing is AI, then I think that there is somewhat of a spiritual mandate to make use of it. But like with all things, whether it's, you know, weaponry or money or sex or influence or AI or any other tool, you know, it can be used for good and it can be used for evil, and the thing is not good nor evil. It is the person using it that is giving themselves over to being manipulated or deceived by the evil one to do that, or using it to discern what God wants to be done and to listen to the Spirit and then use it well. And so, you know, I don't think that, you can go hunting around for 666, in the code of whatever you're using, and you'll probably find it along with every other number, because these things are made up of numbers.
Yes.
But I don't think that there's anything inherently evil in them. What I think is more important than anything else is that we treat our use of these tools very thoughtfully, because they are created by other people, and other people are fallible. We're all fallible. We all live in a fallen creation, and we're all susceptible to it, no matter our redemption, whether or not we're covered kind of by Christ or not. So we have a mandate to use it. We also have a responsibility to use it well, and also, I think an inheritance to pray for the people that create these things, to make sure that they are also creating them well as well. So it's, as with all things, double-edged swords are often the things that we end up wielding.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose then, when you were saying about, okay, you can do things faster, etc., if for anyone who now has a startup and they don't have like a massive budget, would you say, like, what, I don't know if you've got almost like ideas of what they could almost utilize AI for to close some of those gaps of things that they can't afford to do.
Yeah.
Because obviously I saw on your Instagram when you were having all your laptops and stuff set up, with Claude building a website and things like that. But I mean, is that even that simple for someone that's a non-techie person? That AI, because it's...
It is almost that simple now. That's the scary part. I don't think that there's anything within these tools that someone with basic access to an email and a browser are not able to use, right? That at least to get started with. And that's both I think the thing that people find difficult, because a blank page is still a blank page, right? You still have to know what you want to do with it. These things are not going to start doing your work for you unless you have given them really good instructions to do so.
Yes.
But once you do that, once you have an idea, and I think this is where the human, both in the loop and on the hook for what they do with AI, is so crucial, is that we are the ones that steer what these things will do. We are the ones that decide how much we want to give over to them, and that's our job. Again, coming back to this discipline of discernment, it's our job to do that. But everyone at this point, I think, can get started using these things and find real value in them very quickly. It's just deciding what you want to do with them in the first place that is the thing that matters.
And I suppose then, whatever it is that you want to do will determine what are the tools that you'll need, what AI tools it is that you'll need to do the thing that you need to do. And so would you say that, because I was watching some other AI person, this lady, I forgot her name, she used to work for Google, just around, the future is around building up your prompt engineering skills, because that is the ultimate thing, because you essentially always have to prompt and input information in there. And then she was also talking about certain skills, like obviously, the human skills and things like creativity and style, and those things will never go away. But then obviously more technical things will get taken over by AI. But is that the same that you'll be seeing, that, yes, focus on prompt engineering, getting yourself clued up on that, because then you can use any tool, put the stuff in that you want, know exactly how to ask for it, and then you can get things done properly.
So I think this discipline, of prompt engineering has maybe been slightly overblown, and something that we've not really had for very long. But if you want to break down what we actually really mean by prompt engineering, which is prompting these AI models, these large language models, to get the best out of them, that's what you're talking about with prompt engineering, which is different from coding, right? Not knowing the underlying language. I think you could say that, yes, that is a discipline for the power user who is really trying to build a full process in AI. Most of us, though, are suffering from a problem that kind of precedes prompt engineering, which is that we don't really know what we do at work every day. I don't mean that to put anybody down. Like, there are many days that I wake up where I'm not quite sure what I was doing yesterday nor what I'm supposed to do today. But that's not really what I mean. So much of our work, if you think about your job and mine, we do it in our heads, right? We do it without thinking. We do it on autopilot, particularly if you've been doing it for any length of time. Maybe if you are in those early days of working on a project, or the early days of your career, you're putting a lot more cognitive load and thinking power into just how do I get this thing done. Like anytime you're presented with a new piece of software or a process, or think about like how hard it was when you first had to learn to ride a bike, right? Like you had to think about where to put your foot on the pedal at the same time as thinking about where to lean and how fast are you going and where are the brakes, and your brain is trying to do all those things at the same time, right? And it's interesting because in that moment, you're actually much more aware of the mechanical parts of trying to ride a bike. But once you've learned how to do it, you stop thinking about it entirely and just focus on where you're going. That's how most of us are in our jobs. Once we've gone over the technical difficulty bit of learning how to operate the computer or log into the portal or how to work a machine or whatever our work entails, very quickly we move on to autopilot because our brains absorb it, we work out how to do it, we just do it. So when you then are presented with an AI that says, hey, I can help you do the work that you want done, but I don't know what that work is yet, tell me about it. Most of us struggle actually to explain what that work is. We do it in a very rudimentary way, and then we don't get the best results from AI, and then people say, oh, it's not very good. But the reality is that all it's trying to do is do the same thing that you were doing when you were learning to ride the bike, to know the processes, which bits to pay attention to, which bits to forget about, what really matters, context. Navigating context, that is the big skill. And so I think before prompt engineering, the thing that we have to get much more focused on, I talk about this in the book AI at Work, like one of the biggest skills of how to use AI at work is to understand the work that you want AI to do. Right? You have to be able to articulate it because these things operate in natural language. And yes, increasingly you're able to show them pictures or give them access to project files or folders on your desktop or whatever it is for more context clues. But what you actually want it to do, you need to be able to describe. And so that's the first and maybe more important skill, because these models will soon work out how to prompt themselves to do the work very well. So prompt engineering maybe isn't the right thing for us to focus on in the long term. But they will never prompt themselves to do anything unless you're able to describe the outcome that you want in the first place.
Wow, that's interesting. And I suppose when you have all of these different tools like Claude, ChatGPT, is there, so at work we, for example, had to do an exercise where we would put in specific questions in each tool, and then to see, okay, which one will give you almost like the best answers. But then the answers actually differ when you then start like comparing them, and then you think, oh my gosh, like, well, which one is it? So now you almost have to use all of these different ones, but which one is the ultimate one? It's, I don't know, like, how would you go about with that, doing the things that you do, because they all give a different output. So it's not that the answer you're getting from Claude is going to be the right answer similar to ChatGPT or to Grok, because, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean,
it's tough.
We're
free
going
version
through,
and paid version.
we're going through a very quick transition period here at the moment. Most people started off using ChatGPT. Maybe then they moved on to using Bard that became Google Gemini. And then there's basically AI, the same models that power ChatGPT, Gemini, or now Claude and Anthropic, power so many other software solutions that we use every day, right? You've got AI inside of Microsoft Office or Google Suite, inside of Canva or Descript, or any of these other tools like Notion for project management, etc. And this is what I call a form of vibe working. We've seen this emerge from vibe coding, right, which is the kind of practice of talking to an AI model and it coding something for you. That same process is kind of coming into every other bit of software that we use. What we're moving on to, though, is this more agentic way of working beyond just vibing it out with an individual tool. As you say, there are so many of them.
Yeah.
And increasingly, my experience has been, as you might have seen from my Instagram stories, for the past few weeks, I've been playing around with this tool OpenClaw that I'm sure many people have heard about in the news, which is a agent harness. It's not an agent itself. It's a software that you run locally on a computer or in the cloud, and it manipulates, tracks, manages and orchestrates an LLM, a language model like Opus from Anthropic or ChatGPT's GPT-5 model. And then you give that agent harness a brain, so you give it a language model to work with. You give it a set of tools to work with, like Gamma for producing slide decks or Canva for producing images or whatever you might want to do. And you also give it knowledge in that brain through Google Drive or Notion or Obsidian, this note-taking app, and various other things. Using these types of tools, we're beginning to see, I think, the future of how we will work, which is rather than you using every individual bit of software, you will probably orchestrate around an agent harness of some description. It might be Anthropic's Claude Code or the Claude app itself, or it could be Codex from OpenAI or ChatGPT. And increasingly, those tools will have access to all of the other specialist AIs, whether those are models or they are tools. And you'll probably find that you work through one preferred platform that orchestrates the other ones. That seems to be the direction of travel. So my advice to most people is don't try and learn every possible thing. Pick one of these harnesses that you feel comfortable with, that you like using, that you align with ethically, and learn how to use all of the faculties of that thing rather than switching around all the time.
Yeah. And I think I saw something else around, almost like not in terms of AI, but even in general, that the futures around, there's so much stuff in the world, whether that is there's 100 hotels, there's 100 different AI tools, whatever, that the future of the future billionaires about consolidation, like bringing things together where it's just easier for people to manage or to get access, because you just get lost. It's just this overload of information everywhere.
100%.
I suppose coming more to like sort of the softer side of things and versus AI, when you go about your day in terms of working with, obviously doing a lot of incredible things and being very ambitious and coming across a lot of very senior people and business owners and CEOs and things like that, have you ever felt almost like that tension between ambition and humility? Because I think with the things that you do, one can kind of quickly, I'm not saying prideful, I'm not saying you're prideful or anything like that at all.
It's a real
but
good
it's
challenge.
So easy to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so great, I'm an author, I'm doing like 250 speaker events, like I know all these people, like it's quite, on paper it's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. How do you even maintain like humility amongst all of that?
To be honest, I wake up every day baffled that this is the life that I am leading, to be honest. It catches me by surprise, I think, way more than anybody else, to be honest. I've always tried to maintain that I'm only here doing what I'm doing because of the relationships that I've held with people over time. And I think anyone that aspires to achieve something for the kingdom and as a byproduct for themselves personally, and I think God does honor that if our intentions are right, that it really only ever gets done in relationship, most primarily the relationship with my wife and my family, who very much keep me grounded. I mean, like, I'm never going to get a big head because they'll tell me not to have one, but also the people that you rely upon. I don't get opportunities to come and speak unless I'm invited. I don't get opportunities to write books unless I'm invited, and so I think the biggest advice I try and give to myself and to those who are looking to kind of progress in their career or in whatever mission they find themselves on is to pay attention to the invitations, to where are you being invited into, what spaces are you being given access to. And my experience has been that promise that whom he trusts with a little, more will be given. It is just 100% true. Long before I got to speak on any major stage, I've done hundreds of small things that no one ever saw. And you know, I've been blogging for like 15 years of writing blog posts and social media posts and things where they got almost zero attention whatsoever, long before anyone ever asked me to write a book. And so, you know, the discipline of patience and of honoring the people that you have around you and constantly being knocked back is a humbling enough thing. But you know, it is a constant challenge that the more attention, particularly in the past 18 months or so, I've experienced of getting invited to do bigger stages, to do things like the book and various other things, you have to constantly keep that ego and spirit in check. Absolutely you do, because you know, it's very validating to finish doing 35 minutes and 500 people, you know, applaud, and you get asked a bunch of questions afterwards. Like, it's lovely, and I'm not, you know, I long may it continue, because it's something I absolutely find massive amount of joy in doing, and I hope that I'm adding value to other people by doing so. But we should always be just keeping you know, kind of one hand very much kind of clenched around our Bibles as we think about doing anything, because that is our reminder that we are here very, very temporarily to do something that is you know, only ever done in community.
And I think especially for you being in the AI space, it kind of shows that the human side and relationships is still almost supersedes everything else. Like, you can't go without that and just rely on technology or on, you know, the AI bots like doing everything for you.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that you were saying about, you know, just doing all of that stuff for such a long period of time, I think there's a lot of people that might be at the beginning, you know, even if I think about like my podcast, or, you know, having a startup or whatever that is, that, you know, people shouldn't be disheartened or I don't know, feel like, oh my gosh, but I started something like 4 months ago, like, you know, just only 50 people watching it. I don't, like, that's not the issue here. Like, I think that at the end of the day, whatever you're starting, like, just keep going. If God told you to do something, keep going, because he's got the plan. He knows when the right timing is going to arrive. And, you know, obviously coming back to humility and ambition and things like that, you still have to, like, your character needs to match where you're going, and you are almost growing in the process along with your character to then get there. Because some people can't just immediately get 1 million following subscribers or something, and then it's like, oh my gosh, their character wasn't ready for that, and then there's a downfall, and they maybe even lose their faith, or something like that can happen. You never know, and God knows the bigger picture. He sees everything, and you just kind of have to keep going with him. So I have to remind myself of that as well, because some days you're kind of thinking, oh my gosh, like, I just wanted to do X, and now there's a setback, and now I have to kind of restart from scratch. Like, God, is this really what you even want me to do? But it's like, I know that's what you want me to do. I just need to, like, regroup and just keep going. It's just about like, I think I even said this on a podcast maybe with my ex-coach, that, you know, some people get right to the entrance, like, of the promised land, and they're standing in front of the Red Sea, and then they want to turn back and go back to Egypt, instead of like, no, just keep going, because you're about to cross over.
That's right.
You're right there. Just don't look back. Don't go back, because you don't want to be back where you came from. Keep going forward, even if it's just tiny little steps. It doesn't matter.
100%. And you reminded, you know, constantly. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that story of, you know, kind of Moses standing on the shore and kind of, you know, looking at those walls, water parting, and, you know, having the courage to go through. But we also have to remember that, like, they wandered in the desert for 40 years and didn't ever make the promised land, and Moses never saw it happen. You know, he had to hand over, and Joshua had to pick up the baton. And I love that. You know, Joshua 1:9 is probably one of my favorite verses, about being bold and courageous. But what's interesting is that chapter starts with a redeclaration that Moses was dead, and it's a reminder to us that, you know, we are all playing the part of taking on the baton and handing over from generation to generation the task of bringing about the kingdom. And, you know, Joshua probably was in his 40s at that point in time, probably not far off of where I'm late 30s, and kind of around that age. And I think of, like, what would it be like if I had been wandering around in the desert with Moses for the past, you know, couple of decades, watching my leader not achieve the thing he wanted to, and then I'm now handed the baton to kind of get on with it. You know, it's an immense task, and I'm reminded of that constantly, that we are just picking up the baton of the people that have gone before us. I remember some years ago at Focus, the big family gathering that the HTB network hold every year. Nikki Gumbel, who for a while kind of obviously led HTB and was one of the big scalers of the Alpha course, talks about the idea of not despising the humble beginnings. Do not despise humble beginnings. That phrase.
Yeah.
And talking about kind of where Alpha had come from, of being this thing that just happened in small rooms at and to now 11 million plus churches around the world. Or similarly, with my friend Bobby Greenwald, who founded YouVersion, the Bible app, we just celebrated over 1 billion installs of that app in November.
Incredible.
Which all came from him just having the idea of like, what would it mean to have a Bible based on my BlackBerry, which an idea that he just had in the line, to at the airport in Chicago. These stories of like God has done some amazing things for the kingdom with things that started in what looked like very broken, humble, never going to go anywhere beginnings. And so if I'm trying to do anything with what I'm doing in AI, it's to try and hopefully just be able to contribute to the first part of this, because we're very much not even at the end of the beginning of this journey.
Yes.
What AI will look like is going to outlive me by many years. But if we can set ourselves in the right direction and on the right course early, then maybe good things can happen. And so that's kind of where I've put my focus, and where I will continue to. Like, I see this not as a short-term mission. This is probably a life's work to kind of make sure that this stuff is held in the right space.
Yeah. And so JP, for you as a business guy doing all this different stuff, would you, and say someone is watching this like, oh my gosh, I want to be like JP one day, what does a day in your life look like? What does a day in your life look like? I mean, how, it obviously would vary a lot, and like from the minute you wake up and kind of.
It varies a lot. It does vary a lot, but it has some pretty two real kind of speeds, I suppose. I spend probably 1 week in the month traveling somewhere, most likely to the United States, somewhere in the country. This, as we record here at the tail end of April, I've been there 4 times this year already, as well as also to the Middle East once, and every time zone that the US has. So when I'm traveling, a big part of that is I love to make use of travel time to kind of explore projects that I wouldn't otherwise find myself have the discipline to sit and do. Increasingly, that has looked like doing a lot of vibe coding on the airplane, or writing new content for speeches and talks. When I'm at home, though, I tend to be much more of a homebody. I spend a few weeks of the month here. I've 2 young girls who are 10 and 7, and my wife Holly, who puts up with me very well. And because of so much of my work happening in the United States, I do tend to spend a lot more of my day working from about this time in the morning, kind of mid-morning through to later in the evening, to accommodate for talking to our friends and colleagues over in the States. But most weeks I'm here, I'm recording content, I'm writing, I am consulting with a few of the consulting clients that I hold through 3Point, which is my consulting brand here in the US and the UK. And then the rest of the time I'm just trying to kind of stay on top of the pace of what's happening in this industry. I mean, you cannot let up for a day, really, if you want to stay on top of it. And I don't expect everyone to be doing that. I see that as my job, is to try and stay, at least for my community of clients and friends, I'm trying to be the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for them, to try the new things, to know whether or not it's worth paying attention to, and which things to kind of run away from. So that's where I spend most of my kind of time when I'm not on the road.
And I think at our church recently, probably the last 2 Sundays, the kind of topic of rest came up quite a bit. For someone like you that's always on the go, the time zones, jet lag, kids, I mean, how do you make the time to rest? Because this is what, when you join even the leadership sessions with some of the coaches and stuff, they always go about, make sure that you have the rest and recovery day and put the phone away and things like that. But your life is AI, so
it is.
How do you cut
and
off
at the
from
same
the tech
time, I think if it wasn't for the AI that I'm using, I wouldn't have the time to do that. I wouldn't be able to do the capacity that I'm doing at the moment, for sure, 100%. I tend to not work most Fridays, or at least most Fridays. I try and take time to go to the gym, to sit in the sauna, to read, to see friends for lunch, that kind of thing, because I lose a lot of my weekends to travel when I'm traveling. And yeah, I'd say that my kind of practices of rest very much orient around family moments and trying to spend time with my wife and kids. And kids are an amazing margin maker in life, because they need you.
They do.
Frankly. I try and kind of use that as a good forcing factor for kind of getting out of the office and doing other things with them. But I'm not going to say that I've got it licked. I don't think anybody does. But
no.
I just was talking to one of my AI agents this morning, which I've set up someone called Fitz, which is one of these AI agents that is doing my kind of weekly exercise and eating plan for me and kind of keeping on at me about what I need to do as a bit of like personal accountability. I'm not sure how accountable I can be to a chatbot, to be honest, but I'll give it a go. It's also probably upsetting my brother drastically, who is a personal trainer, or was a personal trainer, and now trains other people to train people. So we shall see. But yeah, you've got to do what you can do to kind of stay on top of that stuff, and be kind to yourself when it doesn't work out.
Yeah. And with your kids, I mean, are they like AI experts now? Do you teach them stuff about AI, or do you keep them away from screens? What is the world of kids and AI? What does it mean to you?
It's an evolving relationship, I'd say.
Okay.
On devices specifically, we've been pretty strict around them not having their own devices.
Okay.
They have access to a couple of iPads in the house, which are communal family iPads. They're not theirs, which I think is one of the big things that people can do to try and not make it feel like they're entitled to have access to them all the time.
Yes.
And those iPads are pretty locked down in terms of what they have access to. There's no social media, limited YouTube usage for kind of functional stuff. My younger daughter is a massive crafter, loves to knit and sew and like make dresses.
I love that.
And colour and all sorts of stuff. And so we do let her use YouTube, which I think is just an amazing resource for content on those topics. But there's no kind of doom scrolling through videos of kind of vlogs and stuff in our house. When it comes to AI, it's an interesting one. Our elder one is more interested in it. They both have Alexas in their room, because I spent a long time working with Amazon building Alexa experiences both for kids and adults, and so I'm pretty confident that those are really helpful devices for kids to experience AI in a lighter way. Obviously, with the Alexa Plus updates that have come in recent weeks, they now have a much more discursive, relational kind of feel to them. And so I have had to have a couple of conversations with the kids about the fact that these are not your friends, they're not real. They understand that, but even so, they have to be watchful on their own behavior with them. One of the bigger challenges, though, is with the chatbots. My eldest daughter the other week was using ChatGPT, with permission to do so, but then asked it to name some characters in a game that she was playing. She had some little toys on the table, and she had taken a photo of them and said, "Name the toys."
Yes.
And of course, AI being AI, with that kind of golden retriever kind of energy, very happily did so. But I said to her, if you didn't have access to this, you would have named those characters, and those names would be great, because you've got an imagination that is great at doing that. And I don't want you to lose that imagination. I don't want you to lose that ability to do that. I mean, there was something I think interestingly prosaic about it, just because what was the first job that God gave Adam to do? It was name the animals.
Yes.
So maybe it hit home to me more than if she was doing something else with it. But one of the big things I'm conscious of and watching for with them is that this is fine to use this as an extension of your knowledge, to learn, to know how to do things, but it shouldn't be an extension or a replacement of your creative faculties, to kind of give over that creativity to it. It can be a help to it for sure, but not a replacement. We don't want to lobotomize our kids' imagination with an AI.
No.
And so I'd say it's not a concluded answer at this point in this household for sure. And I think I'm encouraged by the work of my friend Will or Ewing, amongst others, who are doing a lot of work to push the smartphone-free schools initiative, which has had a big win in the past couple of weeks. And I think we are going to need some AI-free kind of classrooms as well in the future to make sure that we're not kind of giving kids too much access too soon. I'm not worried about them learning how to use it. Like we've all learned how to use it in very quick order. They will learn how to use it very much faster than us when they're given access to it. But that doesn't need to be, when they're 10 or 11.
Yeah. And I think what always comes to mind for me is, are we, with too much access at too young an age, you almost can create a zombie nation, right? Where people just don't have the ability to think for themselves and creativity, or even how do I talk to someone, or what do I put into this text message? It's a kind of I think there was a funny picture where I saw someone standing at a cashier, just a cartoon that I had on Instagram, and the cashier standing on the other side. This person's on ChatGPT. How do I ask for the cashier to pay I want to buy a chocolate, something as basic as that you can really start moving into that direction where people just can't think for themselves. And I don't know if that comes up in the secular or the world of AI.
I think it comes up all over. I think it comes up all over the place. I mean, maybe the example there is overblown in some respects, but I think certainly in the world of work, we can be tempted, and I think it is a temptation to give in to our laziness, to do shortcuts. These are kind of forms of spiritual discipline that we need to kind of maintain. And so, I even find myself double checking, hey, am I asking AI to do this because I'm just being lazy and I could have done it myself and I could have done it as quickly? Or am I actually getting a better result by doing so? I think that's something we have to be, kind of watchful for.
Yeah, and I suppose being your authentic self versus trying to get AI to always write everything for you, or I want to send this text message, how do I say this thing? Well, no, sometimes you just got to be your human self, say it as you would say it. And
again, it comes back to, you'll never know what that human self and your own style sounds or looks like unless you've had a chance to mature it yourself. And so coming back to the kind of kids, this is the thing that we need our young people, and particularly people who are entering into the world of work in that early stage, to be still able to have safe and creative spaces to work out what is their particular style, how do they want to lead, how do they want to manage, how do they want to write and create and communicate in the world. And if we become too dependent on tools to do that stuff, it's kind of like handing power tools to someone that's never learned how to use a screwdriver, right? It's if you don't know how tight the screw needs to be wound and you just come at it with a power drill, you'll end up breaking some stuff along the way. And so there is kind of a very much a discipline still in maintaining, learning how to do these things, not forever as a manual way. I'm not advocating for that. But learning how to do it maybe the manual way, or the more human way, we might say, first, before moving on to doing it at speed and at scale, where we don't necessarily know what's happening under the hood.
Yeah, exactly. And so my last question for you is probably around, you've got so much going on, but what is the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to that's coming up this year, that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this thing, or this is the biggest thing for 2026?
Gosh.
I'm sure you've got 100.
It would be too self-aggrandizing to say the book coming out, but I am genuinely very excited about that.
That is exciting.
Sorry for anyone listening who just was like, oh, I've lost all credibility with this guy because he's just plugged the book in answer to the question. But I'll tell you why I'm genuinely excited about it, is because, one, I've always said that I wanted to do this, and I never thought the opportunity would come about to do it, and it came about in totally a kind of God orchestrated kind of way, which we don't have time for. But I feel incredibly blessed and to have the opportunity to share something of substance about the topic at a time where it feels so critical to do so. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but in the next few weeks, I'm heading out to Orlando to go and speak to Dave Ramsey's organization's Entree Leadership Conference. Many people will know Dave and his kind of money advice for believers in the US. But why I'm excited about that is I'm getting to speak to many people whose day job is not sitting behind a desk and using a computer, but people who are running trade businesses and small companies and organizations of all different kinds, and get to help them understand how AI might be able to scale what they do as well. So there's loads of exciting things coming along the way in London later this year, as well as also Digital Day, which will return with our friends at CB. We'll also be running Missional AI London, which I'm excited to help lead and host in July. That'll be on July the 15th in central London, and people can find out about that at missional.ai, which is where they can get tickets. If you're interested in AI on a mission, or you're on a mission in the world of AI, then it's definitely for you. And hosting the podcast for that as well is a really exciting thing I get to be involved with. So there's so many much going on, and I'm just feel very blessed to kind of get this opportunity to be helping shape the conversation for my small part of it.
Amazing. And JP, if people want to get hold of you or see all the different stuff that you're doing, what is the best website, or where can they go? Like, is it LinkedIn, or do you have
so I mean, I publish a roughly weekly newsletter called Double Edged on LinkedIn, which people can follow and subscribe to, and Instagram, you said, at James Poulter. And then if people would like kind of help with their AI work on a personal level or on a corporate level, they can find me at jamesporter.co.uk, or our consultancy is 3point, which is spelled the word 3point.io, where they can find out about how we can help leaders get enabled with AI, or help scale operations within your company or nonprofit.
Yeah, amazing. JP, thank you. This was amazing. I'm so thankful.
My pleasure.
I just, this, again, like I said, wasn't going to go into like the list of questions, but this was really awesome, and I'm really thankful for you taking the time just to
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Go through it. And I will share the links with you and stuff when I've edited it, and just put some little background music and stuff in. And then we can release. But thank you for your time. I'm proud of you. You're doing so much awesome stuff.
Bless
you are just just amazing.
I'm trying to keep it all together. But I appreciate you.
With all your bots around you, helping you on your mission.
The bots are working.
So funny.
Cool.
Thanks so much, JP.
You, my friend. All right, I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.